Hey, what's going on, guys? Studio University here, back with another video, a little different this time, actually. I'm gonna be talking about the demons we fight every day. Alright, this is a little bit of an interesting one because reflecting on my previous video, I realized that I kind of fell into a trap in which I wasn't really intending to fall into, which was the trap of unnecessary criticism. If you didn't watch my previous video, don't worry, it wasn't like the best thing in the world, so you don't have to go watch it. But what I realized is it's just so easy to get so worked up about things. Like, so easy. Like, there's so many different ways you can hate, and so many different ways you can find something that's wrong with something, right? And forgive my phrasing. I know I'm not sounding very eloquent with this, but these are just sort of my thoughts, so bear with me. But there's so many ways that you can just look at something in a bad way, right? And I'm looking at it in like an artistic point of view as well, so that just understand I'm coming at it from that point of view. But at least when I'm talking about it right now, currently in this part of the video. But when you sort of criticize, it's very easy to criticize. So like, for example, I could be very critical of like Fujimoto, which is like what I was being critical of. The person I was being critical of the last episode. But I have to also understand that like everybody makes art in a different way. And if I don't agree with that, like, sure, I'm allowed to have that opinion, but that doesn't take away from like their contribution to the community and their sort of drive to create, right? And I have to understand that even if I might not agree with it, right? Like, they touch people's lives in ways that I haven't done, right? So, one day I'm hoping to touch people's lives with the work that I create. But I'm putting myself in the perspective now of what if it was like me, And I know that this is very cliche, but what if it was me that was creating and people were like criticizing my originality and things? I feel all of a sudden very like insecure about that. And while he might not feel that way, I'm just looking at it from my perspective. And I realize it's just like, just anything in life, like even just moving away from art for a second, it's really easy to criticize people. Just look at the superficial things, look at what you don't like about it, and then just completely and utterly just firebomb the hell out of it. And it's really easy to do that, but it's so much harder to just appreciate that person for what they did do, what their contributions were to art, and what their contributions were and what their intention was going into it. A lot of people don't have bad intentions doing anything, it's really hard because like we all look at ourselves through like the main character of our own stories, right? Like we all sort of look at ourselves as like the protagonist, but it's very it's a lot harder to look at the other person and be like, okay, this is another person as well. I know it sounds simple, right? But when you're just living everyday life and then someone says something that you just don't agree with, their immediate reaction is just to like criticize, or like your immediate reaction is just to be judgmental. And it's so easy to hate. It's hard to be gentle and kind. People that will be real ones will understand that reference. But you know, and like why I say the demons I fight every day is because they are my demons. You know, like for a while I stopped trying to be kind, I think. I tried to just put so little effort into really thinking about those around me and like almost not really acknowledging the effort that people put in every day, because life is hard, you know, like it's difficult. There's no discrediting that, and it's getting more difficult for younger people especially. um like I'm 21 right now, but I can't imagine how it is for kids, right? Like little kids, you know, in this era. Like I'm seeing kids that didn't even have a childhood where they were like off the phones. Like at that point you should be like playing with Legos and shit. But like and like drawing and stuff, but now they're on their iPads and they're just like, I mean, I'm just looking at the world and it's just getting harder, right? Like we all have our unique challenges for different generations, but anyway, getting back to the point, what I'm trying to say is that like the demons that I fight, right, are just like being too judgmental, you know? And I think that that's really important to face those demons, right? Actively think, why do you think those things, right? Why do you think why do you do the things you do? And just actively question that, because if you can't really come to an answer or like a legitimate answer, right? Then you might want to rethink some things, right? And I think that that's something that I need to be doing, right? I need to start doing that. And it's so easy to think of yourself as like this good person, right? And that's not a bad thing. If you are a good person, like you shouldn't be like, oh, I'm such a bad person, like self-degrading like that. But it's also important to know that, you know, your actions do affect people, right? And I find that that realization was really key for me, because we live in an increasingly more impulsive society where instant gratification and impulsivity is the norm, right? You see people on social media just saying the most insane shit towards people with literal skin conditions and diseases that they have absolutely no control over, saying they're like ugly and stuff. Like that's a real human being on the other side of the screen, right? Like think about that. What if you were them, right? And some of you might be thinking like, well, I'm not them, right? But like, and then also some people might think like, I'm not saying you guys directly, but just some people might think like, why should I even strive to be kind, right? Nobody else around me is a good person, right? Or no, like, I mean, nobody else around me is like doing anything to put any effort into the betterment of our social circles or the betterment of our society, right? Why should I do it? And to that I say, like, you don't do something because everybody else is doing it. You do it because you believe in it, right? And if you believe in kindness, if you believe in betterment, and you believe in considering the other person as a person, showing that you have humanity, then you should go with that. Even if it's not mainstream, even if greed and, you know, lust and all this other stuff is mainstream, right? You should go with what you believe in. That's just my opinion on the matter, but I mean, everybody's free to do what they want to do. I just see that the world, it's always been unkind, right? This is not like a new thing, but there's also kindness in this world, right? And I find that there are people that are just like literally ending their lives over like bullying and just absolutely horrendous behavior, and they can't get out of their head because they just don't have anybody. Like, why don't you be that person for that person that's like, you know, if there's a kid at your college, high school, whatever, like whatever age group you're watching this, like middle school, whatever, um why don't walk up to them, right? I know that this is like cheesy sounding, right? This is all foo-foo sounding, like you're like gonna be that kid that like is walking up, and you don't even have to be an introvert, extrovert, like whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, and then, like someone I know, I'm not gonna reveal their identity because anonymity sake, but they told me that like, I was thinking to myself like, someone was just insulting me and saying all this shit, and then like my friends or my friends, they were like just sitting there and like not doing anything, right? And they were just letting this girl like completely insult the hell out of me. But I was like, why didn't they stick up for me? Why didn't they stand up for me? And my friend over here, she was like saying like after the incident, she was like, well, most people just don't like stick up for people. That happens in the movies, but that doesn't happen in real life, right? Most of the time. But like, I just find that's kind of shitty, right? Like, why don't you be that person, right? Well, like, you don't have to be like a savior or anything. Just like, why don't you be that person that just says hello, right? I think that that's getting more and more rare. It might seem cliche. It might be difficult, right, to go up to a random stranger. Especially if they look sad. You'd like, we have a tendency psychologically to avoid people that look sad and stuff because we just feel like it's gonna be too much effort. But like, think about all that effort that you put in, right, just to go up to that person. Like, even if the reaction is not like what you wanted it to be, think about that. In their mind, subconsciously, right? They might not be thinking about it like in that moment, but like subconsciously, somebody cared, right? And that could like literally save someone's life that day, right? Somebody cared about me. Anyway, these are just my thoughts. I sort of feel a little bit bad about the last video that I made because it kind of goes against a lot of my values that I did, but I'm not going to delete it because it's a good reminder for myself, that just be really careful about what you say, because even though like the creator of Chainsaw Man is not gonna see this or whatever, like I never know, like maybe one day I say something that hurts someone that's like, I don't know, less established and they're more insecure, and they look at what I'm saying about them and they're like, wow, maybe I am like shitty, maybe I don't have talent, or maybe I'm not so beautiful, or like I realize how important that is, right? Kind of cliche video, but I think that people are starting to forget it, and like a lot of people are trading irony for like sincerity nowadays, and I feel like that's all good and fun, but there has to be some sort of sincerity. And I'm just trying to put more back into it in the world, just trying to be the one that's sincere, earnest. Even, if it ends up not benefiting me, at least I can live the way I want. And I would just encourage people that have stopped trying to just, even if it doesn't reward you, right? The reward is that you stay true to what you believe in, right? Even if you're not getting rewarded as the world would say you're getting rewarded. So like as the world deems success, like you're getting $1 million or something. Like maybe success is to you is just having a very tightly knit friend group that you can joke around with and have fun. And if something bad happens to you, that you genuinely have people that you can depend on, right? And that might not have been possible if you weren't so genuine, right? So anyway, that's it. We all have our demons, but if we can fight them and stay true to our values, then I just think that we're better people for that. Anyway, that's it. Cheers, guys.